First contact accident. The night shift at Horizon Array, Earth's most advanced deep space monitoring facility, was typically uneventful. Dr. Elena Chen preferred it that way. The solitude allowed her to focus on her personal research while fulfilling her monitoring duties. Her small office overlooked the massive radio telescope dish that stretched nearly a kilometer across the New Mexico desert floor. Tonight, however, would be different. The first anomaly appeared at 2:17 a.m. Elena's console pinged with an alert she'd never heard before. The screen displayed a waveform pattern so complex that the computer initially classified it as a system error. "That's not an error," Elena muttered, her fingers flying across the keyboard to refine the analysis parameters. The pattern repeated with perfect precision every 43.2 seconds. Too perfect for natural phenomena. By morning, Elena hadn't left her station. When Dr. Marcus Wright, the facility director, arrived, she was surrounded by printouts, 3 empty coffee cups, and a half-eaten protein bar. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Wright said, leaning against her doorframe. Elena swept her long black hair back into a messy ponytail. "Better. I found a signal. And it's definitely not natural." Wright's skepticism was visible. "Another false positive. Remember the pulsar incident last year? This is different." Elena projected the signal onto the main display. "Look at the embedded mathematical sequences. Prime numbers, then what appears to be geometric proofs, followed by something resembling quantum equations. This is communication, Marcus. Deliberate and directed." Wright studied the patterns, his scientific curiosity overcoming his initial dismissal. "Direction of origin. That's the strangest part. It's not aimed at us." Elena pulled up a star chart. "Based on trajectory analysis, it's passing through our system, but aimed at coordinates approximately 17 light-years beyond us." "A message not meant for us," Wright whispered. Within 48 hours, Horizon Array was swarming with government officials, military personnel, and specialists from every scientific discipline. The signal had been classified top secret, but rumors spread rapidly through the scientific community. In the main conference room, Elena presented her findings to the hastily assembled International Space Communications Council. "We believe this is a distress call," she explained, pointing to specific patterns in the signal. "There's an urgency in the repetition rate and intensity that suggests time sensitivity. Our linguistic AI models indicate with 87% confidence that this contains instructions for building some kind of communication device." General Harrison, representing United Earth Defense, frowned. "So one alien civilization is asking another for help, and we just happen to intercept it." "Exactly," Elena nodded. "We're essentially reading someone else's mail." Dr. Yamamoto from the Tokyo Exobiology Institute leaned forward. "And what do you propose we do with this information, Dr. Chen?" "We respond," Elena said simply. The room erupted in objections. For 3 days, the council debated the implications. The majority favored continued observation but no direct action. Interfering in communications between unknown alien entities carried incalculable risks. The final vote was decisive. Earth would listen, but not engage. Elena accepted the decision with public grace. Privately, she was devastated. "It's the wrong call," she told her small research team that night. They had gathered in the facility's underused recreation room, away from the security cameras. "Someone out there needs help." Dr. Sanjay Patel, the team's quantum physicist, nodded in agreement. "The mathematics in that signal, it's beautiful. Whoever sent it is at least centuries beyond our level of development." "All the more reason to stay out of it," cautioned Dr. Leila Mbeki, their signal analyst. "We could be stepping into a conflict between species that could obliterate us without noticing." Elena paced the room. "Or we could be ignoring the greatest opportunity for first contact in human history. The Council is afraid. I understand that. But fear can't be what defines us." She stopped pacing and faced her colleagues. "I'm going to send a reply. Tonight. Using the auxiliary array that's not monitored by security. I won't ask any of you to risk your careers, but I'm in, Sanjay said without hesitation. Layla sighed heavily. This is insanity, but I can't let you two mess it up without me. Their unauthorized response was simple. They replicated the mathematical patterns from the original signal, added Earth's position in a universally understandable coordinate system, and ended with a basic prime number sequence that any advanced species would recognize as an intelligent response. Now we wait, Elena said as they sent the transmission. Though I doubt we'll hear anything for years, if ever. She was wrong. 3 days later, at 3:42 a.m., every electronic system at Horizon Array simultaneously activated. Screens displayed the same symbol, a spiral pattern that resonated with a frequency that made the air vibrate. In the center of the main observatory dome, the air itself seemed to fold inward, creating a swirling vortex of light. Elena, working late again, watched in stunned disbelief as the vortex stabilized into a perfect circle 2 meters in diameter. Through it, she could see what appeared to be a room similar to the observatory, but with architecture unlike anything human. And then a figure stepped through. The being stood nearly 7 feet tall with a slender, almost translucent body. Its 6 limbs moved with fluid grace, and its head featured 3 distinct sensory clusters that Elena assumed were eyes. It wore what seemed to be a form of protective suit that pulsed with internal light. Elena found herself frozen, unable to decide whether to run for security or approach this visitor. Before she could choose, the alien spoke, not with sound, but directly into her mind. You responded to our call. How did primitives intercept a quantum-entangled transmission? The words carried a mixture of surprise and what Elena interpreted as disdain. She swallowed hard and took a step forward. We're not as primitive as you might think, she said, unsure if verbal speech would be understood. My name is Dr. Elena Chen of Earth. We detected your distress signal and wanted to help. The alien sensory clusters pulsed with light, a distress signal not meant for you. Fascinating. I am Observer Talon of the Viridian Collective. Your interferences, unexpected. Within minutes, the facility's alarms triggered. Security forces surrounded the observatory, weapons trained on the visitor. General Harrison himself arrived within the hour, demanding explanations. The first official contact between humanity and an alien species was hardly the diplomatic event envisioned in science fiction. Over the next 72 hours, under heavy guard and intense scrutiny, Talon explained the situation to Earth's hastily assembled response team. The Viridian Collective was an ancient civilization spanning dozens of star systems. For millennia, they had been part of a galactic alliance with other advanced species. 6 months ago, their outermost colonies had gone silent. Investigation revealed a terrifying truth. A previously unknown force was systematically destroying advanced technological civilizations. They are called the Harvesters, Talon explained during a tense briefing session. They appear without warning, disable all advanced technology, and then extract something from the planets they target. No Viridian colony has survived contact. What do they extract? General Harrison asked. We don't know precisely. Something fundamental, perhaps what you would call quantum information or higher dimensional data. All that remains afterward are empty husks of our technology and altered life forms, no longer recognizable as who they once were. Elena leaned forward. And your signal, it was a call for evacuation assistance. Yes, to our allies, the Luminarians. They possess shielding technology that can hide advanced civilizations from harvester detection. We were requesting fleet support to evacuate our remaining colony worlds. Talon's sensory clusters dimmed. Your response diverted me here instead. A regrettable error. Why regrettable? Dr. Wright asked. Because your world now knows of the harvesters, and they will soon know of you. Talon's mental voice carried unmistakable gravity. Your civilization has just become visible on their sensors. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. How much time do we have? General Harrison finally asked. At their current velocity, perhaps 6 of your Earth months before they reached this solar system. Talon's limbs shifted in what seemed to be a gesture of resignation. I had hoped to find the Luminarians. Instead, I find a pre-spacefaring species that cannot possibly defend itself. Elena stood up. Don't be so quick to dismiss us, Observer Talon. We may not have quantum entanglement communication or interstellar travel, but humanity has something your species might lack. And what could that possibly be? Talon's mental voice carried clear skepticism. Ingenuity born from scarcity, Elena replied. We've spent our entire existence making do with limited resources, finding solutions where none seemed possible. Perhaps seeing the problem through different eyes is exactly what's needed. Talon studied her for a long moment. Your confidence is misplaced, Dr. Chen, but perhaps admirable. The harvesters have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than yours. Then they've never encountered humans before, Elena said. And that might be their biggest mistake. As she spoke, alerts began flashing on the monitoring screens. New signals were being detected, massive energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. The harvesters had already altered course. They were coming for Earth, humanity's unexpected solution. News of the approaching harvesters spread through government channels like wildfire. Within weeks, an unprecedented global coalition formed. Nations that had been enemies for generations now united against an existential threat. Project Sentinel was established with a single mission: find a way to defend Earth before the harvesters arrived. Elena found herself at the center of it all, working alongside Talon in a hastily constructed facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel from every corner of the world labored around the clock, trying to understand the enemy they faced. This is useless, Talon said after watching the humans test another prototype defense system. Your technology is hundreds of years too primitive. The harvesters will disable anything with advanced electronics instantly. Elena wiped sweat from her brow, exhaustion evident after her 4th consecutive day without proper sleep. Then we need to think differently. Tell me again exactly how the harvesters operate. Talon projected a holographic image from a device on its wrist. They emit what we call a null field. It selectively targets artificial quantum coherence, essentially any technology that manipulates subatomic particles in organized patterns. Everything from our power systems to our weapons simply stops. Sanjay, who had been quietly observing, suddenly straightened. Wait, selectively targets advanced technology. What about simpler systems? They ignore primitive technology, Talon replied dismissively. It poses no threat to them. Elena and Sanjay exchanged a look. Define primitive, Elena pressed. Mechanical systems, chemical reactions, basic electronics without quantum state processors. Talon's mental voice carried what seemed like confusion at their interest. The harvesters evolved specifically to counter civilizations that have mastered quantum manipulation. They have no defensive protocols for lesser technologies because such technologies cannot harm them. Elena smiled for the first time in days. Talon, that might be exactly what we needed to hear. Over the next months, Project Sentinel underwent a radical transformation. Instead of attempting to match the harvesters' advanced technology, they embraced what Talon considered primitive. The approach was dubbed Retrograde Defense Initiative. In factories worldwide, production shifted to vacuum tube electronics, mechanical computing systems, and chemically propelled weapons. Engineers who had spent careers developing quantum computers now found themselves redesigning World War I-era technology with modern materials. This is madness, General Harrison complained during an inspection of a facility producing vacuum tube communication equipment. We're going backwards. No, Elena corrected him. We're adapting. The harvesters expect quantum computing, AI defense systems, energy weapons. They won't be prepared for analog solutions. Talon remained skeptical, but continued sharing knowledge about the harvesters' capabilities. The alien observer had transmitted Earth's coordinates to the remaining Viridian colonies, warning them to stay away. This was now In Talon's view, a doomed world. As the months passed, the first Harvester scout ships were detected entering the outer solar system. They bypassed Jupiter and Saturn without pause, clearly aware of their target. Earth had 5 weeks remaining. In a secure bunker beneath Geneva, world leaders gathered for what might be humanity's final strategic council. Alina presented the culmination of Project Sentinel's work. The Harvesters expect to encounter a civilization dependent on advanced technology, she explained, displaying schematics on the screens around the room. Their first attack will be a null field designed to disable our defenses. When that happens, we let them think they've succeeded. A ruse? The Chinese premier asked. Exactly. Our apparent vulnerability is our greatest strength. They'll detect our current technological infrastructure collapsing and assume we're defenseless. That's when we activate the retrograde systems. The plan was audacious. Around the world, militaries had secretly deployed mechanical computers controlling ballistic missile systems with non-electronic firing mechanisms. Power grids were equipped with instant switchover capabilities to steam and hydroelectric generators that used no quantum-based controls. Communication networks could revert to simpler radio technology that the Harvesters would likely ignore. And if they simply decide to destroy our cities from orbit? The Russian president asked. Elena nodded to Sanjay, who stepped forward. That's where Observer Talon's knowledge has been invaluable. The Harvesters don't destroy. They harvest. They need to physically land and extract what they're seeking. Our plan exploits that necessity. When the Harvesters finally arrived, they came in massive crystalline vessels that defied conventional physics. 7 ships, each nearly 2 kilometers long, positioned themselves over major cities across the globe. As predicted, their first action was to emit a cascading null field that spread across the planet. Worldwide, advanced technology failed. Power grids collapsed, satellites fell silent, and modern weapons systems became useless. To the Harvesters, Earth had been neutralized. In the Geneva bunker, lit now by chemical lanterns, Alina watched the mechanical teletype machine click out reports from around the world. The null field had worked exactly as Talon described, but so had humanity's countermeasures. Phase 1 complete, she reported to the assembled leaders. They think we're helpless. Now we wait for them to land. They didn't wait long. Within hours, smaller vessels detached from the main Harvester ships and descended toward major population centers. Their crystalline structures glinted in the sunlight as they landed in city centers, deploying what appeared to be collection apparatus. Phase 2, Alina ordered through the vacuum tube communication system. Across the globe, humanity responded with technologies the Harvesters had dismissed as irrelevant. Artillery pieces with mechanical firing mechanisms launched chemically propelled shells. Retrofitted aircraft with piston engines dropped specially designed munitions. None of these weapons utilized the quantum technology the Harvesters were designed to counter. The first signs of success came from Beijing, where artillery shells shattered the crystalline structure of a Harvester landing craft. Similar reports followed from other cities. The Harvesters, for perhaps the first time in their existence, faced resistance they hadn't anticipated. In Geneva, Elena watched the mechanical displays tracking the battle. They're adapting, she warned as reports indicated the Harvesters were deploying new defensive measures, but they're having to create new protocols. They've never encountered this situation before. Talon, who had remained with Elena throughout, showed the first signs of what might have been hope. The Viridians tried to fight with our most advanced weapons. We never considered regression as a strategy. The battle raged for 3 days. Humanity suffered terrible losses. Millions dead, cities in ruins, but they fought with everything they had, from simple firearms to steam-powered attack vehicles specifically built for this moment. The Harvesters, designed to counter vastly more advanced civilizations, struggled to adapt to threats their evolutionary programming had never considered relevant. The turning point came on the 4th day. Sanjay had been working with a team to analyze debris from a destroyed Harvester craft. They discovered that the crystalline structure was surprisingly vulnerable to specific sound frequencies, physical vibrations that disrupted their molecular cohesion. "It makes sense," Sanjay explained excitedly over the radio. "They've evolved defenses against energy weapons and quantum attacks, but not against something as basic as sympathetic vibration." Within hours, humanity deployed perhaps the strangest weapons in its history: massive mechanical sound projectors, essentially giant tuning forks powered by steam engines. The effect was immediate and devastating. Harvester vessels began to fracture and collapse under their own weight. By the seventh day, the remaining harvester ships retreated, breaking orbit with unpredictable trajectories that suggested severe damage to their navigation systems. Humanity had achieved what numerous advanced civilizations could not. They had repelled the harvesters. 3 weeks later, in the partially rebuilt Horizon Array facility, Alina met with Talon and representatives from the world governments. The observer's demeanor had changed dramatically. "I have made contact with the remaining Viridian colonies," Talon informed them. "They are astonished. No species has ever successfully repelled a harvester attack. The fact that you did so with technology we would consider obsolete is causing significant reassessment of our defensive strategies." "Will they return?" General Harrison asked. "Eventually, yes. The harvesters are persistent, but now they will have to evolve new approaches, which will take time, perhaps decades by your measurement." The Secretary General of the United Nations leaned forward. "And what of your people, Observer Talon? What happens now?" "The Viridian High Council has voted unanimously to establish formal relations with Earth. A delegation will arrive within 1 of your years. They bring gifts of knowledge, but not technology." "Not technology?" Elena questioned. Talon's sensory clusters pulsed with what she had come to recognize as amusement. "Your technological path is unique, Dr. Chen. We believe forcing Viridian technology upon you would be a disservice. You have demonstrated an approach to problem-solving that our civilization had forgotten. The value of simplicity, of multiple redundant systems, of thinking beyond established paradigms." Talon moved to the window, gazing at the New Mexico desert stretching to the horizon. "The harvesters evolved to counter species that develop along predictable technological paths. Humanity did not follow that pattern. You skipped steps, combined approaches, maintained older systems alongside newer ones. Your technological evolution has been chaotic, and that chaos saved you." Elena joined the alien at the window. "So what happens now?" "Now," Talon replied, "humanity joins the galactic community not as a junior species to be protected, but as equals with unique insights to contribute. The Luminarians, the Viridians, and others will come not just to teach but to learn." General Harrison laughed softly. "All because Dr. Chen here couldn't follow orders and stay out of alien business. I prefer to think of it as humanity answering a call for help," Elena said, "even when that call wasn't meant for us." As night fell over the desert, new signals began arriving from deep space, messages of introduction and greeting from a dozen alien civilizations. Humanity had not only survived, they had announced their presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They were not supposed to survive the harvester attack, but humans had changed everything. The signal hadn't been meant for them. They answered anyway. And in doing so, they changed the course of galactic history.